Om Shanti. Thought we'd take up the subject of patients today, so not the ones that lie in the hospital unwell, but in a sense it is very much connected because they have time to think and they have time to rest, recuperate, and that's why I like the subject of patience. Always comparing patience with tolerance because they seem quite alike, but they say patience is the mother of all virtues. The saying in India is that purity is the mother of peace and happiness, and there are two major virtues, peace and happiness, but they say patience is the mother of all virtues, so it's a major aspect of living a peaceful life because very often people don't have time for each other anymore, or they're not patient enough with them, and it's a great therapy when you're very patient with yourself and also patient with others as well, because it allows them to breathe, it allows them to not feel restricted, it allows them to not feel suppressed, and they're able to actually bring out the best of people. If only people gave more time to individuals and listened rather than jump in and get the wrong end of the stick about things, because misunderstandings, some people believe very strongly that misunderstandings are the cause of all wars. So if there was more patience and there'd be more understanding, people will have time to breathe. I think it was a forgotten art, being patient, really waiting and watching, because it wasn't seen as productive, it wasn't seen as proactive, and you've got to move fast, and it's got to be a motor a minute that's run off the assembly line, so everything was made impatient, really. Time is money was the favourite saying, so they actually put people under more and more pressure. Because of pressure, people make more mistakes, and the craftsmanship goes out of everything, because when you've got a lot of time to do something, then it's more likely to end well, because you're able to give it your best without the restrictions of time. And man is very time conscious, isn't he, as well, because he's very much will be doing something, as in hygiene. I know your name's not Jean, but so it's not hygiene, but hygiene. And the hygiene was like, while a person was doing that, they'd be very much thinking about where they're rushing off to. So because of the rush life that people lead, is that people are running out of patience, and there's not a lot to run out of. So although it looks like I might be saying to you, you're stretching my patience, you're making me impatient, but I've got to question how much patience I've got, because if I don't pay attention to that, then I'm going to end up as a patient, because that's where it leads to. So many people have untimely deaths because they've really killed their body because of the workload and trying to get through. And there's a little story about it, actually, where the man, he's trying to make the 9 o'clock train, and he's walking at a speed that he normally would, and then he realises he's early, So instead of thinking I can get the 9 o'clock train at my own leisure, he tries to get the 8:45 train and starts to walk that much faster, which is proof really that he's geared towards speed and getting somewhere. And so there must be also a peacelessness. That's probably why it's the mother of all virtues, because there's a peacelessness of not being where I am as quick as I can, not getting things done as quick as I can. And I know soul consciousness and becoming aware of your inner self is really, really connected to patience.
So multitasking is not ideal for the patient then? Is that what you're saying?
Multitasking works when your mind's peaceful. You can multitask if you know what you're doing, because the subconscious mind takes over. So you could still actually be a very peaceful, patient soul and multitask. But when it comes down to doing 2 or 3 new jobs at one time, you wouldn't, because it's not been promoted to the subconscious mind at that time. And yeah, you are able to move speedily, but there mustn't be any form of rushing, because that means I'm out of control. I've lost control. And the whole process of Raj Yoga is to come under control again, bring everything under your control, so that no job that I'm actually doing loses the joy of doing, and I lose patience with. I remember watching someone where they put a fork in they washed the fork and put it threw it into the drainer part of on the sink, and they threw it and it went back into the sink, and they put it twice and threw it the third time. So it seems to be the law of 3, really, is that they tried to do it twice peacefully, and then the third time it didn't stick, they threw it. Yeah. So it seems to be that 3 makes a habit, and when things haven't gone my way for the third time, then it becomes a scar or a habit. So now people work like that habitually as a habit, whereby they're quite peaceless in the way they do things, because they haven't made a new habit. They've got their old habits of impatience with things. So it's like they say, isn't it, a watched kettle never boils. And it does, but I mean, it feels like it never will.
I think there is belief that the more you do with your time is better. I think that's where we are rushing things.
Yes. As if by the end of the day, I'm going to have reached that, or closer to that place called happiness and success. And it's a place that keeps moving away because the virtues are not being exercised, and patience mothers them. So it brings a lot of other things into play when we're performing our actions, and even when we're dealing with people as well, because it is an act of love when I'm showing patience and more patience to someone and giving them that time.
So how do you develop patience? Is it through tolerance, or are they both completely different?
Yeah, they are completely different, because tolerance is when there's a resistance, and that resistance is building up. So impatience can lead to intolerance, but if there's intolerance, then impatience is already there. If you've got a patient mind, that's where our meditation comes in.
So what comes first, intolerance or impatience?
Impatience. Yes.
First.
Yes. Yeah, because it's the mother, and tolerance would be the child. So when I'm patient in meditation, I'm patient with my own mind. That's slowing me down, and that's making the mind start to think in a different way. So I'm not thinking of getting jobs out of the way. I'm thinking of giving them time, quality, and you're actually more productive than an impatient person becomes. People get their work done 5 times quicker with the patients because they do things in a constructive order.
And how does impatience lead to intolerance?
Because there's always going to be something that doesn't go the way when people are rushing. Because whenever people are rushing, they make mistakes, and that makes them disturbed. And that makes them say things that they shouldn't have said, didn't mean to say. Patience always allows you to say what you mean to say. So that's how an impatient mind is actually a peaceless mind as well, because it's the mother of peace as well.
How do you describe tolerance? So if stillness is patience, then tolerance is?
Tolerance is where the resistance is being met by a higher power. But behind that, you come back to love, and the aspect of love that you're using is patience. So when I'm patient with someone, there's no resistance because I'm countering the resistance. Because it's not really the person that I need to be patient with, it's my own mind that's reacting to the person, isn't it? So I'm actually giving patience to my mind when I wait, watch, and there's space between. It creates that space that's called tolerance, the space that's in the chain, so the chain doesn't snap on a push bike, is called the tolerance.
So I would respond rather than with patience.
You would, because I'm always jumping in with a conclusion or an estimation or an imagination when my mind isn't a patient, because I'm not allowing myself to fully understand you. I'm not allowing my mind to fully understand what you're saying. So what my patience is allowing me to do is allowing me to try to understand what you're saying. And it might say, at first, the first thought might come that was a criticism that you said, and then patience allows me to analyse it again. Whereas impatience doesn't allow me to analyse, so it creates the intolerance. So the art of listening comes into play when we're patient, because it's not about what I have to say to you only. It's also about what you have to say to me. And it might be that you're there for me to learn most. Whereas with impatience is always what I've got to say, because it sticks in my mind and I have to say that. I'm impatient. My mind's impatient to say it, whereas when I'm giving patience to my mind becomes cooler, and I'm able to not need to say it, because there's a time and a place, isn't there, to say things. The right time, right place, right moment. Maybe I'll never have to say it. Maybe just my thought, because I'm getting my power back in my thoughts, because I'm actually not reacting with the words. So if I'm getting my power, maybe a telepathic situation where will happen, whereby you with a patient mind will think something, and all of a sudden I'll do it. Maybe you will never have to say it to me.
I think this is why patience is the mother of virtues, isn't it? Because
I think so.
once you're still, your mind is still, then you can accommodate any further.
Yes.
Or anyone.
It's reliable, isn't it? When your feet are still, then you feel secure that you can stand up But if the feet keep moving,
Yeah.
so impatience is things keep moving, it keeps things, and that is that stillness that it gives you.
Even if you're not still, any other virtues, you can't even justify them,
No.
even having them, because you're not still. You're not using the right virtues at the right time because you're not still.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, you need that pivot point to work from, don't you?
Yeah.
And of course, the soul is a pivot point, really. So, soul consciousness would very much support the patience because I'm separate to the role.
Exactly.
And if I'm separate to the role, then these sense organs are being used under my control. So, that would be a major aspect of bringing patience to a mind that isn't reacting through the sense organs of the body to what I see, what I hear, what someone might be thinking as well. Might be. Look where all the might goes. They might be thinking that. Look where all the worthiness, all my power goes because what they might. Because I've seen signs of that. But did I see signs of that, or did I have enough patience to understand? Because the point really is someone else isn't understanding me, but I'm having the patience to understand them. That must affect them with that might, because there's none of that, those questions of might be this, might be that, might not be. They might be saying kind things to get the best out of me. I'm not having that impatience to jump, and I'm actually processing not only a separation from the body, but a separation from the mind, which has all those thoughts. So it runs quite deep, and it is quite subtle, really, the way patience actually allows me to be myself away from a mind that is actually programmed to not be the self, because it's actually been programmed to be the role.
So how do you use patience in day-to-day life?
Well, you use patience as in from a point of view as a power that you're generating or you've generated to some degree through stillness,
So do you
stability.
actually pause for a second, or how do you
If you did need to do that,
patience?
yeah. If you they call it the pregnant pause, don't they, as well? Because it could be a pause for good, where you actually don't need to say anything. So I'm not actually planning, making an effort to actually put something across to you to correct something, because it's already been corrected or already been being corrected. So that's the whole thing, isn't it? If I change my connection with my own mind and bring patience, like the child, like the mind is my child, and I'm filling it with that patience in meditation, and also while things are going on, I'm still giving patience to the mind, because everything isn't going to happen now, and everything doesn't need to happen now. It can happen when it's the right time.
But that's what I was going to ask. That let's say if I understand that, or I've become very impatient, if I felt the impatience, what would be my thoughts to become patient?
That, I'm in an attached state of mind, and I've got to become in a unbiased, undetached state of mind again, because that's where my power lies.
What if I have the time limit, if I have to deliver something, and because of that pressure of time, I am impatient.
Where you say to yourself, what if that thing didn't get delivered? What's the worst that can happen? What part of me has been damaged?
I think that's where the lack of understanding
Yes.
is, isn't it? Because as soon as I ask myself, what if the project
Yes.
isn't delivered, well then I will become more impatient because then there will be more trouble for me.
But supposing you deal with me to get the parcel delivered, and you find that you've dealt with me because you didn't have that patience and that understanding, and that wasn't your criteria because the parcel is the criteria, which very often happens with life in general, is that what is given the importance is something other than what is important, and it's always virtues that are important. Everything else can wait.
So
Yeah.
that's where I need to remember, make myself remind.
Well, imagine if you go outside in that state after dealing with me like that and get held in a traffic jam. What will you think of the traffic jam then? And you get these people who are sitting in their Uber, aren't they? And they've actually got an appointment and they cannot accept, because there's no patience, they cannot accept that they're meant to be in a traffic jam.
Why do I meant to?
Because in the world of the mind with no patience is I'm not meant to be. This is the way it should be, that there's no traffic for me, because this is what, in my mind, I've already delivered that. When people are going shopping, in their mind, they're already at the shops. That's why the journey to the shops is a waste of time in their world,
What
isn't
about
it?
my credit, my promise to my customers that your parcel will be delivered on time at your desired place and everything I promised. So it's my company's or my own responsibility to deliver that parcel, and I think it is very difficult at that point to become patient. I think that's where we're struggling.
There was a senior sister in knowledge, and they called her, because she wasn't around at the same time as me, but they called her Mama. And when she was talking something of significance to another person, they used to say to her, "Hurry up, Mama, the train's about to leave, and if we don't get on it now, they'll go without us." And she would just say, "Acha, okay." And she would carry on talking, and the train was still in the station when she finished. So the stars aren't moving us, we're moving the stars, you know.
Yes, that's what I said earlier. There's a lack of understanding that what actually important.
Yes, so the priority list is in the wrong order. Yeah. And there's always the priority list which is destroying virtues, decimating virtues, rather than enhancing them.
So as long as I've done whatever I could to deliver that parcel,
Yes.
my duties, my responsibility finishes there, and what happens afterwards, I shouldn't be held responsible for that.
Well, that was another point of understanding, wasn't it, really, is that person's karma, perhaps that karma is for them to never get the parcel, whoever it was whose jurisdiction it was under to provide the parcel, and you were just the instrument. So in the world of misunderstandings, which is why there's the wars, in the world of misunderstandings, because wars are fought in the minds of men to begin with. So where there's that understanding that if you are the instrument to bring bad luck to someone, bad karma to someone, because that's their fruit, is that you're not to blame as long as you've done everything that you can. Because the other side of it is you look on life that way, that, oh, well, if they don't get it, then it's just their bad karma. That's not right, is it? You're doing everything that you can, but the main point is without rushing. Because when you're rushing, you're even more body conscious than you were before. You're even more all over the place than you were before.
I think rushing mind develop more thoughts as well, isn't it?
Does.
So I'm in more traffic.
Yes, and that's more stress on the organs of the body, because thinking under pressure, you know what it's like, when you're thinking of that answer to that clue of a crossword, when you're not thinking about it, that's when it comes. And when you're pressurizing the mind to think about it, it doesn't come. And that name you're trying to put to the actor, it doesn't come when there's pressure on the mind. So whenever the mind's under pressure, it's not working as best. Even though people use that word, I work better under pressure, that's not actually true. That's an energy flowing, but they're in short bursts. Those people burn out because we're running a marathon here. We're building up stamina to run a marathon, and those people burn out very quickly in life, and they basically end up with in an early grave. You can add years to your life with patience.
That's very good. I just realized that with patience, I could even use all my other virtues at the right time.
Yes.
Because I'm very stable, and I
Yes.
think I can differentiate which virtue is needed for the different situation. I think that's very good feeling, because then you can be a better person.
It makes you feel like you've got all the time in the world.
Exactly, and you have all the control.
Yes, yeah. Impatience starts to think of Monday after Sunday, and what Monday means to me, and that builds up stress, and you become timeless because it doesn't matter. But it's put in the right context, is it doesn't matter, it's something that needs to be done, and it does need to be done, but it mustn't be done without me. And that's not the me that's rushing the headless chicken. Don't know that term much, but like that kind of philosophy theory. It's more like they used to show a cartoon of a man that was racing this car that was it wasn't a supercar, it was a bit of a banger, and he was racing this car as fast as he could with his pedal to the metal, as they say, and trying to get to the finish, and someone else in the car was just going past him like this, like a swan, with the just gliding past everything. And when you glide through life like this, there's no what if they come while I'm doing the dinner, what if they say this to me, all the what ifs are not there with patience, because you're only dealing with what is, not what if. Yes, and what is just where I am in the here and now. Impatience takes me to the there and then, and the there and then is filled with a non-reality.
An unknown fear as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the virtual reality, and in a virtual world, it's not a nice place because I can't control that, but I can control
what I have right now.
Yeah. What if that person comes in with them and starts on to say this and to say that, the what ifs. And the what if is replaced is the what is. The what is where we exist, and the what is not is where we don't exist, and that's where all the fear comes from. So you can see even patience is giving birth to fearlessness, because it's building up that power that's being wasted in that energy. 95% of imagination doesn't happen. So you can imagine how many people would do well to deal with the virus right now as it is,
rather
just
than
just the symptoms that they have rather than what could happen,
could happen.
and then creating the separation from the body so that life is separated from potential death, and you're actually enjoying being life that's healing potential death or healing the symptoms. You probably wouldn't even think of the word death, even because it's not here. It's in the virtual, so you probably actually wouldn't even think. You just think of a symptom that you're dealing with, and it's a small symptom, and that separation of doctor and patient is you're not the patient, you're the doctor, you're the healer of the illness, of the problem. But when I've got that concept or that consciousness of I am ill and this is going to happen, I'm making my mind very impatient. So it's connecting to all the negative, all the dark areas of the subconscious, the fear and the worry, the attachment, and what I'll be missing if I lose this situation that I'm in. I've worked so hard for this, and I'm leaving all the bills to this. It just goes. It's mad. It's madness. It's crazy. And all I do is give patience to my mind and say to it, deal with the here and now, with the what is. And you've got that pivot. And it's a very strong foundation. It's like the foundation of a house. You only need to have that strong, don't you? The rest of it is quite fragile, really. But it doesn't matter if the foundation's strong.
Can you give us some thoughts?
Yeah, because we've got 31 minutes, so that's enough, isn't it?
Which we can use in day-to-day life when we are in complete impatient stage or
Okay.
a situation.
Okay.
Because I think that's where we can check whether we can be patient or not.
Yes. Okay.
Because it's all good talking about patience when I'm patient anyway.
Yeah.
But when I'm impatient, how to change that state with different thoughts.
In a meditation, you mean? Yes.
I think that could be
Sure.
helpful.
Let's do that. I sit quietly, consciously aware of myself, the actor within the costume, within the body, developing a hero actor role within me that does everything under the influence of virtues. My mind, which pulls here and there, is my inner child, and my inner child needs much love, much peace, much wisdom. I quiet my inner child, and my mind, my inner child, feels secure, peaceful, light, and feels like I'm considering the mind's feelings. No one will ever consider the feelings of my mind like I can, because my mind is my best friend and I am my mind's eternal friend. We have been together forever, for my mind is a powerful, eternal instrument that can easily deal with situations and circumstances of the external. I see myself in a situation where the phone is ringing and I'm allowing the phone to ring. There is no rush. There is no hurry to answer the phone. I move gracefully in my own time, with peace, allowing me to glide through my role. I see someone being inconsiderate with my feelings, but I am being considerate with my feelings, remaining detached, not taking anything personally, allowing them to play their role, being patient with them, watching, waiting, and allowing what they needed to say to come to an end in its own time. I have nothing to say that is planned. I will wait for the thought to come when it's meant to come, in whatever way it's supposed to come. I work in the spontaneous moment because I have space between myself and my role, and there is oceans of space between my role and their role. Om Shanti.